Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Distinct Authors Talking Publishing. I'm Patricia Bates, historical romance author, and today I would like to say thank you so very much for taking the time out to join me. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the little bell so that you're notified of any upcoming videos in the future, so you never miss out on any topics. Today I thought we could talk a little bit about something that's very important that we as authors sometimes overlook, which is point of view. Point of view is it's very important to the writing of the story because you really do need to keep your scenes in one character's point of view or without head hopping, which is oftentimes where you start off in one character's perception and you've changed it and somehow so now you're also in the next character's perception or point of view, and that can be very jarring for a reader. So having a clear understanding of what your point of view needs to be and how to utilize that is very important. So today I thought we could just kind of go over a few little tips and tricks that I have learned over the last 11 years in this industry, and to really kind of help you have an understanding of what point of view is, how it works, and what you really need to be aware of when you're writing. Now this video is a little bit more geared towards those who are just kind of getting into the industry, kind of just starting out, or who are just interested in expanding on their writing skills. So let's jump right in, shall we? So the first point of interest when it comes to point of view really is to be sure that when you're writing a scene, and you keep it very distinct and in one character's point of view. Now this can be very difficult. Even experienced authors still do struggle with this to some extent because it's very easy to kind of jump from one character to another. But really making sure that you stay on the one character's point of view is what is going to ultimately benefit you in the long run, because it's going to take a little bit less time for your edits and your revisions as you go through the process. So when you're working in a scene and you're focusing on one character, something that I have recently learned, and I'm still learning it, and at this point I am absolutely in love with the system, is really focusing on deep point of view, which is really getting into the character's head, really understanding what they're trying to do, what they're seeing, what they're feeling, engaging in all of the senses as well as the emotions, so that you really do remain in that one character's point of view. Because when you're doing it deep point of view, it's very difficult, I have found, to head hop to another character's, because their perception, their emotions, their physical interactions with that particular scene are going to be completely different. So really having that understanding is really important. Now, it's very easy to say, stay on one person's point of view, but like I said, it's very easy to kind of skip over and wind up with another character's point of view within the same paragraph, within the same scene. And one thing that I have actually taken over the last little while to really take time to do is when I'm writing, I do not go back and edit as I go, because I find that kind of detracts from the story. And I will be doing another video on editing as you go in the near future. But for right now, with point of view, one of the things that I have found is I use Google Docs a lot of the time when I'm writing, because it allows me to have access regardless of where I am, as long as I have internet. Now I also do a backup where I do a hard copy on my computer as well, but with Google Docs you can make your comments on the side, and that's where I usually will make a note, double check, make sure that you're staying in this character's point of view, or how is this character's feeling, what are their senses, and really kind of focusing on those aspects. Once you've actually gotten the project written and you're going back and you're doing your edits and your revisions before you submit it to a publisher or before you release it as a self-publishing book, you want to take the time to actually read through it and be sure that you're not skipping from one person's point of view to the next person's point of view. And one of the things that I have really found that has benefited me is really trying to focus on specifically one character, rather, and just kind of write it to the point where I'm looking at them as how are they interacting with that, with that scene? What are they seeing? What are they tasting? What are they smelling? What are they feeling? And really engaging in that level of awareness. Now, it's not always easy. Sometimes it is very difficult, especially when, you're just writing and you're going, and you can slip up and, you can head hop. But again, it's very important to really kind of be aware that you're doing it, to really be aware, especially when you're doing your edits and your revisions, that it is something that you need to avoid. So my second tip, other than writing in the deep point of view and really kind of focusing on the emotions and connecting in that sense, my second tip would be to, when you are doing your scenes and you have your specific scene breaks and you're focusing on one character, is to have on your side, or on your computer or on the little your desk or wherever, something that actually says, it's a checklist where it says, this is character A is in this scene, this is what I need to put in there, and this is how I need to react, and this is how I, how would that particular character feel, and that sort of thing. So it really does benefit you in the long run to actually do that, because I have found that it makes it so much easier for me when I'm going back and doing my revisions, because I see that little note to myself and I go, oh, okay, I need to kind of take a step back and really read through this and focus and make sure that it is clear that this is the character who is, the reader is reading the story, or living this particular scene through. So I do have some resources which I will link below for deep point of view, and so you can kind of see what that actually is and how it really affects or improves your ability to stay in a one point of view when you're writing. But it's very, and it's very easy to skip around and be and kind of lose that sense of where you are with which character, etc. So you want to really be aware of that. So having something that is beside you that has a little note, your notes or comments, excuse me, in the manuscript is huge. If you are working on a project and you're editing as you go, that's one of those things where I have found that it's very far easier for the point of view to shift, because you're not really letting the story flow through and actually just getting the words down. There's that old adage, if you can't edit a blank page, is very true, and if you're spending all of your time editing as you go, you're not really allowing the story to come through, and I do find that it is quite easy to do the point of view swaps, and sometimes that's a bone of difficulty for authors. So having those, that awareness. Now, when you're writing and you're doing your scenes, having clear scene breaks is huge, in my opinion, because it really does allow you to know that you've changed your point of view, you've changed your location. There's something there that is a change that you need to really focus on and work towards to actually get and understand that that's the point of view that you need to be focusing on. Now, when you're writing in first person and third person, it is a little bit different. I don't typically write in first person myself. I'm a third person omnipresent narrator. I find it very difficult to write in the first person. I always have, which is probably why I don't do it. But it's the same when you're, regardless of whether it's first person or third person. There is some differences, but for the most part it is very similar. So you have to just be aware of those sorts of things. The other thing too, when you're doing it, when you're looking at point of view, is regardless of how you're going, your ultimate goal is to publish your work. Having that clear understanding of this is the point of view that I need to be in this scene, it really does help with keeping that flow and really moving your story forward without being jarring, without slowing your pacing or your rhythm down when it comes to being read. Now, sometimes we slip and we don't notice it, which is why our editors are absolutely amazing, and I love my editors, because they do help to find those instances where, it's completely unintentional and I've kind of overlooked that I have actually done a point of view swap within the middle of a paragraph or within the middle of a scene, and then it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I know, I can see it now. So keeping your point of view clean, concise, in one character's point of view is very important, and I think it's one of those challenges that we really do need to work on as authors, because it's very, very important to make sure that when we're writing, our story flows from character to character, scene to scene, without actually impeding the ability of the reader to follow along and really enjoy the work. So I really hope that today's video has proven helpful for you, and that I've offered you some tips and some suggestions on how to kind of keep your mind or your character's point of view consistent throughout your work. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. So thank you so very much for joining me today. Have a great week and a fabulous weekend, and we will see you again next week.